You made a great decision to spend some time in the trenches with Dave Lapham, brought to you by First Star Logistics, because our special guest is wide receiver coach for the Cincinnati Bengals, Troy Walters. Played in the National Football League at a high level himself. He's quarterback with Peyton Manning. Yeah, not bad. Pretty good. Out of Stanford is Troy Walters. The Bengals have the best wide receiver core in the National Football League, in my estimation, bar none. Well, they added to the troops with the draft, a couple of draft picks. They signed some undrafted free agents. Everybody wants to come play for the Cincinnati Bengals, be part of what Joe Burrow is doing. Joe Burrow gets the ball out of his hand quickly, is decisive, makes good throws, makes you look good as a wide receiver. Troy Walters is going to have a lot of guys to work with and probably some tough decisions to make down the stretch when they're making that final roster. Appreciate you joining us in the trenches with Dave Lapham, brought to you by First Star Logistics. As always, coming to you from our unbelievable studios. We really appreciate First Star Logistics for providing such an environment for us. And we've got a guest today. Yes, we do. The Cincinnati Bengals. They're back at it. We have wide receiver coach Troy Walters joining us, and does an unbelievable job with the Cincinnati Bengals wide receiver group and around the league. It's acknowledged as the best receiver core in football, and I totally concur. Coach, welcome, sir.
Yeah, it's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
So this time of year, I mean, you guys, your group had another great year. Joe Burrow and your wide receiver core, they just have it's like magic. I mean, they have a synergy that's just phenomenal to watch. It starts now, right? I mean, this is an important time of year for us. Talk about what you're looking to accomplish.
Yeah, I love this time of year because it's a chance for the guys to get on the field and really develop a base, develop fundamentals. This is probably the most individual time that we'll have any time in this year. Once the season starts, you really do not have a lot of indie time. So I tell the guys now we have to have a sense of urgency when we're on the field and use this time to really develop our base and develop great fundamentals, be masters of our fundamentals. And those guys have done that so far. We've had a good 3 days, and I look forward to the rest of this off-season program.
I was talking to Jamar a little bit in the locker room about the routine he has for off-season workouts. Man, I'll tell you, that guy, he always looks like ready to go. The dude is chiseled 24/7. It's unbelievable the shape that kid keeps himself in. It's important to him, obviously. But, I mean, that routine, not only on an individual basis for a guy like Jamar Chase, but collectively for your group is big, isn't it?
It's important. I was once told as a rookie when I played was your body's your moneymaker. And so I tell the guys all the time, you've got to take care of your body. You've got to invest in your body. And because that's what's going to allow you to have a lengthy career. And he's done that. The rest of the group, they do a great job of maintaining their body and doing a great job. And it's just important to be together and to run routes and with Joe and develop that chemistry, that timing with the quarterbacks. And I tell them now, this is the time to mess up. This is the time to try new things out. And if you fail, then we can make corrections and grow and learn from it. And so I just love this time, this opportunity to get back with the guys, to be around the guys now because they've been gone for so long. It's just a great time.
You do a great job of making it fun for the guys too. I mean, when I watch you guys work at practice, you're getting your work done. Don't get me wrong. It's not, it's not like it's lollygag, that kind of deal. But man, I mean, it almost looks like, I remember what it was like, halftime of an NFL game when I was a kid. Let's go out back and run routes and play catch. And it's you're serious about it, but it's still fun. It seems like these guys, they're very serious about their craft. No two ways about it, but they're having fun doing it, man. They really like football, it looks like.
That's the personality of our group is, we have guys that like to have fun. So you got to tailor your workouts, your drills around those guys and make sure it's fun. Make sure, like you said, you're still accomplishing your goals. You're still getting better, but at the same time, they're enjoying what they're doing. And that's just the nature of the group. And to do anything other than that would be really going against the grain. And those guys would probably start resenting you and everything. So they know when to get their work done, when it's time to be serious and get their work done. And then when it's time, they can have some fun. We always want to be loose. We never want it to be a stressful environment. And so because when they play, I want them to play loose. I want them to have fun playing. So if we're not having fun, then it becomes work. And I've never felt like, since I've been a coach here with the Bengals and with these guys, I never felt like I'm at work. I've always felt like this is fun. This is a hobby. This is just, you're just having a good time.
As talented physically as your group of guys are, they have an aptitude for the game as well. I mean, it seems like, Joe Burrow has talked about Jamar in terms of his football IQ. He's been around him the longest, but he talks about all the wide receivers. He goes, man, I got a group. I got a wide receiver room that is just very, very collectively smart football players.
Yeah, we stress that. We look for that in guys that we're going to draft or bring in as free agents. They've got to be able to master this offense. They've got to be able to know what to do so they can get on the field and play fast. And in this system, Joe requires you to be on. He requires you to make sure you know what you're doing, be at the right place at the right time with the right technique. And those guys, they've embraced that. And Joe holds them accountable. The coaches hold them accountable, but they know if they're not doing the right thing and they're not running the right routes, they're not going to get the ball, and Joe's going to say something to them. So it's really a collection of not only Joe holding them accountable, but also the coaches, and those guys understanding that in order for me to play, I've got to know exactly what not only my position does, but what the other 2 or 3 positions on the field, receivers on the field do, and they do that. And we teach that. We teach scheme and understanding the entire concept, so that you're not limited to just one position. You can play multiple positions, which makes you more valuable.
Seems like the first offensive selection in this year's draft, Charlie Jones, fits that bill big time, out of Purdue. I mean, here's a guy that played at 3 different places. So he had an aptitude for, learning and unlearning offenses and different coaches and different schematics and techniques and everything. And then he goes to Purdue, and it's like, it's a pro-style offense and over 100 catches, over 1,300 yards, double-digit touchdown catches. I mean, crazy production. But this kid, when I watch him, I said to him in the locker room yesterday, I said, you probably heard this before, but, man, my comp for you is kind of like Cooper Kupp, man. You are so precise with your route running. You get such good separation. He goes, yeah, I've heard that comparison before. And I guess, Zach, having coached Cooper Kupp, I mean, was there any analogy in your guys' eyes between what Charlie brings to the table and what Cooper Kupp does?
Yeah, Charlie had a phenomenal season and very productive. And, he's a well-traveled young man. As you said, played at Buffalo, then Iowa, then Purdue. So we understand that he can learn multiple offenses. To say Cooper Kupp is special, and there are not many Cooper Kupps around. So we got to make sure that, Charlie catches his first pass and does some more things before we start comparing him to Cooper Kupp. But
right.
But he had a successful season against some of the top DBs in the game, in a great conference, playing a great schedule. He's just a winner. He's a competitor. When the ball's in the air, he goes and gets it. He makes plays. Guy has great hands, great ball skills. Like you said, he runs precise routes, which is going to fit well into this offense. And he can learn multiple positions and help as a returner. So just the value and everything that he brings to this offense was something that we couldn't pass up.
What's the receiver group think about, Joe Burrow? He's kind of swole a little bit, man. He really worked hard in the offseason. He put on some good muscle mass. It's not like he put on a bunch of weight in terms of pounds, but he redistributed some stuff, and it's very evident. Has it translated into velocity? And he'll always be accurate, but is he even got a little more zip?
Yeah, I mean, he's Joe has the respect of everybody in this organization, in the locker room, not only for what he does on the field, but what he does off the field, the preparation, in the meeting room, on the field, but also in the off season, working out, keeping his body in shape, being in the best condition possible. I mean, he wants to be the best out there. And so that really spills over to the other guys, to the other positions, because we know that if he's working that hard and he's doing the little things, then it's our responsibility to keep up with him and make sure we don't let our end we don't let our end down. And so he sets the standard, and everyone else has to make sure we're up to that standard.
How did Andre look to you coming in, working out? Obviously, an education, very smart guy. Seems like he's a football smart guy. Did he have has he had a pretty good run so far?
Yeah, first of all, he went to Princeton, which is the Stanford of the East. Those guys asked me to compare those schools, and I told them that it's probably the Stanford of the East. But no, he's come in, grasped the offense very well, which we figured he would be able to. And then when you see him, man, he's got size, he's explosive, he's strong, and so he's come in these first 3 days. He's been very impressive. Learning the nuances of route running, so that's going to take a little time, but he's all in. It's amazing, just the story. The young guys that we've got, they're here at 5:00 as I'm leaving the office. They're in the weight room on the turf, walking through the next day's script and making sure they know what to do. And so that's pretty impressive that on their own that they're doing that.
Wow, that is pretty strong. I've noticed that Charlie and Andre, they've got a bond. I mean, they're checking on each other. What are you going to do? Where are you going to go after practice? They're with each other. There's no doubt they've formed a little bit of a bond in a very, very quick fashion. You've got, in terms of college free agents that were signed, 6 offensive players, 7 defensive players, and some wide receivers, 3 wide receivers involved there. Tell us about what you got. I think you got a dozen guys to my count. Looks like in that range at this point, getting ready for training camp. Is there any tweaking to be done, or is that pretty much where you're going to be?
That's probably where we're going to be. It's hard to come in June or July without going through this offseason program and be able to learn the offense and really help out. So the guys that we have now are going to be the guys we go to camp with. And, I love the group. We know the vets, guys that are back, but the young guys, we talked about Charlie, we talked about Andre, Shedrick Jackson. He's come in, he's a 4.2, he ran a 4.27, good size. I think he has a lot of upside, just a raw receiver right now. And he's learned the playbook, and he looks good out there. And then we signed Malachi Carter from Georgia Tech, who's come in and done a great job. And then Matt Hippenhammer from Miami, Ohio. And so all those guys they fit well with our culture, good kids, hungry to be great. And they come in and work hard, and they're fun to coach.
Coach, it's unbelievable how fast guys are getting in the National Football League. I mean, I think there's probably at least a half a dozen guys on this roster that run sub 4.3. It's crazy now. It's amazing. I mean, you got 90 guys going to camp, but I mean, to have a good handful plus guys that run sub 4.3, it's just remarkable how fast the game has gotten.
Yeah, it's definitely gotten faster. Guys are bigger, stronger, faster than when I played, and so that's a prerequisite to really make it in this league is speed. And so those guys understand that, and they've been training. Now it's training is year round, and they've got a lot of specialty training programs, and guys are they work on their speed, and because they know it's important. So that's what this league is all about. It's all about speed.
Joe Burrow grew his hair out a little bit, so he's wearing this Bengals headband with the B on it, and so both my grandkids and both my grandsons are like, hey, buddy, you got to get me, a headband. And I'm like, I go to the pro shop, they're sold out. I mean, whatever Joe Burrow puts on me, and it's gone. There's none to be found. How big a factor is it when you're talking to kids about coming to camp and taking a shot to make the Cincinnati Bengals as a college free agent? How big a deal is it that Joe Burrow be one of the quarterbacks throwing the football?
Yeah, it's huge. I always ask them what they know about the Bengals, and usually the first thing they say is Joe Burrow got a great quarterback, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And then not only that, but just the receiving core. They know about Jamar and T and Tyler Boyd and the success that we've had these last couple years, and they want to be a part of it. And then I tell them about the culture and how it's really an unselfish organization. I show them clips of games where it might be a big play on the sideline, and you've got the starting defense up on their feet right next to the sideline, congratulating the receiver that made the big play. And that's really just the culture of this organization, is that everyone gets along. Everyone's unselfish. We root for each other, cheer each other on, and guys want to be a part of that. So it's exciting.
When you bring in the rookies, they have their little day, it's almost like you're unwrapping your Christmas presents and you're seeing, is it as advertised kind of, you take a look at guys out in the field, and then they mix and meld with the veteran players. When you're doing installation, do you kind of gear it toward the young guys, or do you expect the young guys to move along and pick it up so the veteran guys aren't bored stiff? Or how do you meld that? How do you make sure that it's being installed? Does it go back to square one? How do you do that, Coach?
Well, the one thing I do when I met with all the draftable or all the college prospects prior to the draft, and one of the things that I tell them is if we draft you or we sign you as a free agent, first thing we're going to do is get in that playbook, and you're going to learn the playbook. And so we had 2 weeks before they reported for their rookie mini camp, and so we got on and we Zoomed during those 2 weeks and really caught them up to speed on really pretty much the entire playbook for the most part. And so, and the expectations I told them was when they get here that I expect you all to know a lot, as much as the vets. I know the vets, they hadn't picked up their playbook, and so some of the things they may not remember. And so I said, you're probably going to be right on par with where they're at. And so when we started Monday with the vets, we just went through a normal install as if I assumed they knew it, and they did. And so, that those 2 weeks prior to when they get here, it's important that throw a lot at them and just see what they digest, and then we go back over it again once we start the off-season program, so they hear it a second time, and they've done a great job with it.
It's I think it's such a big plus. You haven't played in the league yourself, and fairly recently. I mean, it's not like it was back in the 70s, God forbid 70s when I played, in the 70s and 80s, early 80s, whatever. But I do remember. I remember that first mini camp like it was yesterday, and I remember all we had was one mini camp in the off season. It was for an entire weekend. We had a day with the rookies, after you got drafted, you went in there for a day and a half, maybe, of a mini camp. And then you had the veterans, and that was the welcome to the NFL moment, because now you're working out with the big boys. And I remember lining up against Mike Reed, and I'm like, man, this dude, I've read so much about him, watched him play. This guy, this is going to be. And my offensive line coach goes, "Yeah, kid, you're going to see what real quickness is. You're going to think you closed your eyes, son, but you didn't close your eyes. That's just how quick this guy." And it was unbelievable. I mean, it was a woo. Welcome to the NFL. Do you have memories like that? And does that help you kind of work through things with guys that might be a little bit wide-eyed?
Yeah, it does. And I tell them, I said, nowadays these guys have it so much easier than when we played. And I used to tell them stories. When I played, it was the weekend after the draft. And like you said, I think it was two practices Friday, 2 Saturday, and then 1 Sunday. So we had multiple practices. I believe It was even padded. You threw the pads on. So like you said, your first NFL snap may be against a Deion Sanders or one of those top corners in the league, and you're just like, man, you get to welcome to the league quickly. But now they've kind of toned down on some of that stuff, and now really that rookie mini camp for us is just a chance for us to go out there and just see those guys move around a little bit, not to tax them too much, because we know that the following Monday they're coming back with the veterans, and I try to tell them, hey, it's still football. Still do what you do. You're here for a reason. You're a good football player, so don't get caught up in who you're around. The Jamar Chase, T Higgins. You're a good football player too, and You don't have to be like them. Just be yourself and do what's got you here. And we have such a great group of guys that are welcoming. And so that first day, Monday, I mean, those guys, it felt like family. Those guys were family. And we include the young guys. And so it makes their transition a lot easier.
Coach, go back to the point that you made on their own. You got a young receiver group doing the extra work, putting in the extra time, meeting on their own. That's pretty darn impressive. Was that something that was collective? Was it, to your knowledge, was there a guy that suggested, or was it just kind of like a group thing? Like, let's just do this. We need more. How did that all come about, do you think?
Yeah, I'm not sure how it came about. I just know this past week, they have their rookie meetings where they go through life skills and different things that they got to get adjusted to here in the NFL. But after that, they're in that weight room, 3:30 to 5 o'clock, and they're walking through the next day's script. And even yesterday, I saw Charlie Jones with some tennis balls, and he was doing some tennis ball drills. And they don't have anything else to do, so it's great that they're in here instead of just going back to the hotel and sitting there and watching TV. They figure this is more beneficial, which it is, and just shows you how hungry they are and how well they want to, how bad they want to be great and learn the offense, and that's the type of guys we want on this team.
From a philosophical standpoint, Coach, when you're looking at guys and trying to decide who fits best, do you like, okay, man, this guy's got a unique skill set. Maybe we can create some things to fit that skill set, or here's what he fits our scheme the best based on what he's presenting. You know what I mean? Is it like you don't want to put the square peg in the round hole either way? Or is it a combination of both? How do you, when you're evaluating the best people to either draft, invite in free agency, if they weren't drafted, veteran free agents you go sign, how do you approach that part of it?
Yeah, it's really a combination. You want to bring the best players, the players with the best skill set, the players that do the most well and at an elite level. You want to bring those guys in, but at the same time, you want to make sure that their skill set fits what we do. There's a place for them. There's a reason why they're here. You don't want to bring, like Andre. There's a reason. He's big, he's explosive, athletic. He has huge upside. We feel like he can develop into, one of the top receivers in this league. He can back up a T or a Jamar on the outside. Charlie, there's a spot for him as a three positional player who has value as a returner. So you also want to make sure that there's value and they fit what we do offensively, and everyone we bring in. Not only are they gifted as football players, but there's also a good fit in terms of their skill set and what they can add to an already strong receiving group.
So everybody's going to have some sort of a role. Not all the roles are going to be the same, but everybody's going to have some sort of a role, some sort of a contribution that you guys envision. Worst case scenario, we're going to get this out of this dude.
Definitely, you got to have a vision for everybody. Everybody that's in the meeting room on this team, you got to have a vision. This is where we see them fitting in, and that vision can change throughout the course of practices and training camp and so forth. But you initially do have a vision for everyone, and you kind of work according to that vision and try to get them ready for that specific role they're going to play.
Coach, the guys that you brought in, particularly the draft picks, had a chance to talk to both of those guys, and man, they're impressive. I mean, just impressive people, not just impressive football players. I mean, they communicate well. You just know that they have a good spirit about them. I mean, they're just good dudes to be around. How tough is that process? And is that the biggest, not variable, but is that something that you put the most time into because you don't want to miss out on that big X factor?
That's very important, especially with the culture that we've built over the last few years, and especially, my room. That's one of the best parts of being a coach, the receiver coach here, is we have a great room, great culture. Guys get along. They're unselfish, And so you want to make sure you bring in guys. I don't have to hold anybody's hands. I don't have to, call people, make sure, are you up, babysit, so to speak. The guys are accountable. They love football. So it just makes my job a lot easier. So we're definitely always trying to find guys that fit that culture, and they add to it. And these guys, they did that. So between the Zooms, the combine interviews, going to pro days and meeting with the guys, and then the scouts and their as they go to the schools and they talk to the different coaches and staff at their universities, you just kind of get a good feel of who really fits and who doesn't. And I'd rather have a guy that fits, that may not be as talented, but he fits the culture, and he's hungry, and he's going to grow, he's going to learn, he's coachable. I'd rather have that guy because he's gonna find a way to be successful.
Coach, I know you probably experienced the same thing in the playing days. I know as a player, the best teams that I played for, everything was self-policed. It was like players took care of it before it even got to be a problem. It was like cut it off the pass. You know what I mean? It's like, no, don't even let it get to be a minor problem, never mind a major problem. Everything was self-policed on those good football teams, and there's nothing better.
Yeah, that's a sign of a mature team. When the coaches don't have to be the police, the coaches don't have to do all the correction. It's player-led. So anytime a team can be player-led, player-driven, you got a special team, and that's what this time of the season is. Also, it's for some of the new guys, veteran free agents that we've brought in. It's for them to get to know the other guys and for them to grow as leaders on this team, and then some of the younger guys that now need to step up in that leadership role. Since we've lost some veterans, it's their opportunity for them this time of year to grow as leaders, and for this team to get to know one another, because it's a new team. Right. 2022 is 2022. This is 2023 Bengals, and it's new faces. A lot of the same faces, but there's some new faces, and that chemistry's got to develop, and that bonding's got to develop, and this is the time when it does.
Coach, great stuff as always. Appreciate your time. I know it's a busy day today. You had the players out there on the field. You had organizational meetings. You had a lot going on. Appreciate you carving the time for us that you did. You were outstanding as always, and have a great off season. Have a tremendous 2023.
Yeah, appreciate you having me anytime.
Thank you, sir.
All right, my man.
Dave Lapham here, and every day I am grateful for my experience to have played professional football. As a player, I realize self-motivation, leadership, and appreciating your teammates are key. At First Star Logistics, you can use those same attributes to create the life you want for you and your family. Build your future by working hard like I did. You'll see results both on and off the field. Call First Star Logistics today and be part of our winning team.
Opportunity knocking.